Welcome to the Adventurous Marriage Podcast,
where our goal is to help you embrace marriage as an adventure
and learn how to thrive as a couple. All right, welcome back to the Adventurous Marriage Podcast. It has been a while.
Yes.
No, we have not dropped off the face of the earth, but we've had some life circumstances change, and so we just don't have our studio access like we did as easily. So we're having to try something new. We got a little portable setup here, so we're trying this tonight.
Yes.
We have had a date tonight, and we are up in Thomasville, Georgia, and we just found a little quiet spot. It's getting dark, but found a quiet spot here in the little amphitheater area where they have concerts and things, but nothing going on tonight. So it's a good space to do this.
Yeah.
But we're just itching to get back to getting a podcast done. We've had intentions to do more before this, but just been very busy and been teaching the Adventures in Marriage class, and I've traveled a little bit and actually
had our own adventures.
Yeah. So actually a couple weeks ago we got to go on a Mini Cooper rally up in North Carolina, Tennessee. It's called Minis on the Dragon, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was.
Quite adventurous.
Yes, it was a little more adventure than we thought we signed up for. It was a very fast adventure, I'll say that.
Yeah, there were 450 other minis that showed up, and I tell you what, those people can drive.
They move.
I tell you what. So we pushed our mini to the limits I'd never done before, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We learned some stuff.
It was exciting.
So,
yeah.
And Carol did amazing in the passenger seat. She doesn't normally like that fast of mountain roads,
I had
going
to
around
take some
roads,
deep
but,
breaths.
but she did really good. So, but,
it was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of these days, hopefully, we'll get Maverick the Marriage Mini, our mini, on the channel here, and so you guys can see it. Maybe we'll be inside of it or sit in front of it or something. I don't know.
Yeah, something. We got to include Maverick in this podcast somehow.
He's kind of our channel mascot. If a car can be a mascot, whatever.
Right. Oh.
But anyway, we just want to get back on here and get a podcast going, and we had an idea. We had a thought. We were actually been teaching classes lately and kind of noticing something. We were talking the other day in our living room, and we noticed that, people, you've always heard people, we fall out of love. People fall out of love, right? But what we're noticing is that people fall out of the loving feelings of love primarily because they're falling out of compassion for each other. Yeah. And that's just something we're noticing, is that people get to the point where they've just they're just done. Yeah. Like, because they're exhausted, and they've been putting up or dealing with a lot of, whether it's been addictions people are dealing with, their spouse is dealing with, or illnesses, even like mental illnesses or physical illness, disabilities.
Yeah.
And we're seeing this. I don't know how to say it any other way, but the spouses that are dealing with it are just kind of being jerks to them.
Yeah, it almost looks like it's a trend.
I know.
It's a very bizarre thing. Like thinking about like clothing, trends of clothing and stuff like that. This literally seems like a trend. We're seeing it so often in marriages that the compassion is just not there. And they're not willing to dig deep and find compassion for their spouse going through really difficult things. And we can relate to this because early on in our marriage, we were in a pretty tough place, and I struggled with severe anxiety and depression. And had Alan not been shown compassion to me and been compassionate, I wouldn't have made it through. I really don't even. Not only would we have not made it through in our marriage, but I don't know if I personally would have made it through anything without his compassion. Because if you have ever dealt with anxiety and depression, it can take you into a pretty deep, dark pit. Yeah. And getting out of that is very, very difficult. You need someone to come alongside of you and love you and be compassionate with you and say, man, I am so sorry you're going through this. How can I love you through it? And that's what Alan did for me in that time.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand the people's frustration, because I was there. It was a very hard couple of years.
It wasn't easy for you.
No, it was incredibly challenging and exhausting, and but But never once did I have the thought of, I'm done. I'm going to find someone else who's less headache.
Thank goodness.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, no, you're my wife, and you're dealing with something that you didn't choose. You didn't do something, to do this. And why wouldn't I have compassion for you? Now I know some of you might be saying, well, yeah, but my spouse chose what they're doing, right? And that was actually me. See, I dealt with some addictions, and that I chose to do. Now, I didn't know why I was drawn to them. I didn't know why I struggled with it.
Yeah.
We'll get into what that is maybe on another podcast, but it was not at all that I was trying to get even with her or get back at her or anything like that.
You were going through some things of your own that was kind of leading you down your own dark pit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, I chose to do some things, and I was not thrilled with myself about it, honestly, And thankfully, when I came to Carol and confessed what I was doing, her first words out of her mouth was, I forgive you, and I'm going to help you through this. And it was like, wow, thank you. So for her doing that, I will never, ever take this lady for granted, and I cherish her every day. And that was such a powerful gift you gave me that actually started me on my healing journey from it.
Yeah.
And so I feel like if you have a spouse that's dealing with something, and I know they can be really hard stuff, right? And they can be maybe even unrepentant right now, and they're not really wanting to give up what they're doing.
Right.
All I can say is, if she would have shamed me, if she would have just beat me down, kicked me to the curb, I would have just gone.
You would have spiraled.
Yeah, spiraled way out of control, and it would have been horrible, honestly. So the biggest gift you can give to your spouse is to have compassion and empathy for them, and to be their helper, and to be there by their side and say, I'm not thrilled with what you're doing. I may even be mad at what you're doing and the pain it's causing me, but I love you, I'm committed to you, and I want to help you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was thinking, before you go thinking that I'm a saint, I'm not at all a saint. Anyone that knows me well would tell you I have a pretty fiery spirit. I can get, pretty passionate about things, and I can get pretty worked up about certain things. But when Alan came to me, first of all, he was broken. That helped. That he came to me broken. I didn't, have to find out on my own. He came to me. So that was helpful. However, what made me say, I forgive you, the biggest thing that made me say, I forgive you and I want to help you, is Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Without a relationship with Jesus Christ, I would not have been able to say those words.
Yeah.
Neither of us would have compassion for one another
Right.
without Jesus Christ in our marriage and in our own individual lives, because we have a personal relationship with Christ, and we know that he has died on the cross for us and forgiven us of our sins and given us so much grace and mercy that we don't deserve at all. We're
right.
able to give that to each other.
Yeah,
that makes all the difference for us.
That's exactly right. Because if you think about what Christ did on the cross for us, we don't deserve that at all.
Right.
Like he could have chose to say, nope, not doing that. These people do not deserve this. They're just going to keep messing up.
Yeah, and he could have said also, like, hey, one more time and I'm cutting you off.
Yeah.
Like, I can't tolerate any more from you.
Exactly.
But he didn't do that.
No, he willingly gave of himself. So that's what we have to do in marriage, is be willingly giving of ourselves and be there for our spouse. Be a safe space for our spouse, honestly, because if someone else steps in and is that for them, are you okay with that? Do they run off with that person? You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's a whole nother issue in marriage. That
Right.
if you're
whole
not
other podcast.
if you're not meeting needs, they're going to find the need somewhere being met. And
Yes.
so we don't
Hold
want.
on, let me stop you right there and say, somebody is going to hear that.
I know, that's what I was about to say.
Okay,
But
go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
Go ahead. So I'm thinking somebody's going to hear that and say, if your spouse has an addiction, that means if we're saying if their need is unmet, it's your fault they
No,
have
that's
an
not
addiction. And
what I'm
that's
saying.
not what we're saying.
We're saying that if they have a need that's unmet, they're going to meet it somewhere, somehow,
Yes.
whether it's through drugs, addictions,
Mm-hmm.
or someone else. So all we're saying is be that safe space for your spouse. Be that person that's there for them, that you're their go-to for everything.
Right.
You know, and you're their comfort zone.
Yes.
You know?
And I know we didn't have the tools to know how to do this
know.
early on in marriage. I really just think the only reason we were able to was the Holy Spirit, Jesus Christ. There's no other explanation or reason that we should have been able to have compassion and forgive one another and love each other through some really difficult things. But it was all God. And if you would have told us back then, hey, you guys are going to be marriage podcasters one day, and you're going to be teaching marriage classes, and you're going to be coaching marriages in crisis, we would have said,
what?
Yeah, that sounds great, but you're crazy. But here we are, and doing all of those things, and it is only by God's mercy.
That's right.
So we just want to take a second and encourage you, if you do not have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, you need one. And if you don't know how to have one, reach out to us. We would love to walk you through that.
Yeah, I don't know where our marriage would be without Christ, honestly.
Right.
I know that everyone listening here may be a Christian or is a Christian. All we're saying is he's the glue in our marriage, honestly.
Yeah.
And so, not to make you feel hopeless, but I don't know where our marriage would be without him.
Yeah.
And I can't say it any stronger. And so,
what would you say for people that would say, hey, we are Christians and we still are struggling to have compassion for one another? What about a spouse that says, you don't know what my spouse did to me? How am I supposed to have compassion
all
on
I
them?
can say is that we've seen it all in doing what we're doing. And we've seen marriages come from the pits of hell back to better than it ever was.
That's right.
And a lot of times it was because one of the spouses chose to just be committed, to help their spouse through it, and lean in and not give up. You know, don't give up on your marriage. Another thing that I would say is you've got to do, if your spouse is struggling with something, physical addictions, physical ailments, whatever, pray for them every single day. Pray for them.
Yeah.
Pray over them. Pray with them. Okay? That's only going to bond you towards your spouse. I promise you, it's going to change your mindset. It's going to change your heart.
Yeah.
And that's the power. There's power in prayer.
Absolutely. There's on Instagram, if you don't follow us on Instagram, little shameless plug, go follow us at The Adventurous Marriage. And we have a whole reel about the power of prayer in our marriage, what it's done for us, the resource that we've used for it, and just the beautiful effect it's had on our marriage. So go check that out if you haven't seen that. It is prayer in our marriage has been, like Alan said, the glue. You know, Jesus has been the glue. And anything, you guys, anything is redeemable.
Absolutely.
I told someone that this weekend, one of our couples, I said, anything is redeemable. Like, you think all is lost. All is not lost. You would be shocked to see what God has done with some of the couples who have, like Alan said, been to the pits of hell. I mean, they've been through it. And other people the world would look at them, and other people would look at their marriage and say,
so you should have run a long time ago.
Yeah, you shouldn't have stuck around for that.
Don't, if you're wanting to get help with your marriage, please stay away from anyone who's going to say, get away. Now, I'm not saying if you're being abused physically, get space.
Get to safety.
Get safety.
Help.
Get some help.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, don't listen to someone who says your spouse is a jerk. You just need to leave them.
Right.
Don't listen to that. Find people who have been through some things.
Yes.
Find an older couple who have. I guarantee you, find an older couple who's been married a long time.
They've been through some things.
They've been through some things. So
Yeah.
So find someone like that who's willing to talk you through that and say, like, how did you do this?
Yeah.
You know, find them and reach out to them. And I guarantee you, with some help, you're going to be fine.
Yeah, and
with
if
some
you don't,
patience, with some time heals all wounds. You know,
time heals. I think
and so
that's another thing with the lack of compassion. It leads you to give up too soon.
Yeah.
You know, when you're not compassionate. I was thinking about, you know, we have compassion for perfect strangers. You know, someone is going through something, and even in the grocery store, we might see someone hurting or sad, or they drop their groceries, or, you know, drop a jar of spaghetti sauce on the aisle. That's the worst, right? And there's spaghetti sauce everywhere. And we're like, oh man, I feel so bad for them. If you can have compassion for a stranger, you can have compassion for your spouse. It's not going to come easy because your spouse is the one you live with, and they might drive you crazy, or they might do some things that, hurt each other. You're human, you know?
That's the thing is that your spouse might be struggling with something and you're very frustrated with them. And you if you have the thought that there's no way I would ever do something to hurt them this way, check yourself, okay? Because I know my intentions were never to hurt my spouse. Carol's intentions were never to hurt me. You're human.
That's right.
They might not hurt you the same. You may not hurt them the same way they hurt you, but there's some other way there's something that you have that would be a weakness for you that you could. There, but for the grace of God go I, right?
Yes,
it's like I can say all these other things I've never done, but I did do some things that did hurt my wife. Okay, so don't pick your spouse apart because they have something they struggle with.
Come
alongside them. Don't be prideful.
Yeah.
So but anyway, we just want you to feel encouraged. We want you to feel just motivated to just keep going. Just keep going. Don't give up. Okay. And just train your brain to have compassion for your spouse.
Yeah.
And watch what that does. Watch how they want to come near you. They want to be with you. They want to. They just want you.
That's right.
If you do that, you're going to be a wonderful gift to them. I promise you. If you do that.
Yes, absolutely. And if you don't know how to do that, if you're out there saying, hey, I want to have compassion, I don't know how. I don't know how to be a safe space for my spouse. There's a lot of resources out there. If you need help, if you're like, you just don't know what my spouse has done to me, I'd like to make this work, but I don't know how, reach out to us. We would love to encourage you and point you in the right direction with some resources. But
I will say this one thing is that, something we've learned is that underneath every problem behavior is an unmet need.
That's what I was going to say.
Okay. Yeah. So we tend to focus on people's behavior, whether it's our spouse or our kids, right? We attack the behavior.
Yeah.
And that never goes well.
Right.
Right? It makes your kids rebel. It makes your spouse run. All these things. But if you will talk with them and say, listen, I'm noticing this behavior. Is there a need that's not being met in some way, shape, or form that I can help with?
And just trying to get to the root of the problem.
That's right.
Trying to get to the heart
Focus
of the
on
problem
that.
And saying, what's going on inside? Like, you look like you're struggling, or you look like you're hurting. How can I help you? How can I be a safe? How do you ask your spouse, how can I be a safe space for you? What do you need from me? Because that might be different for different personalities. Different spouses might need different things. But ask your spouse, do you feel loved? Do you feel safe when we have a conversation? Or do I shut you down? Do I make you feel stupid? Do I discourage you? Ask your spouse questions and, have some safe conversations and be a safe space for your spouse.
And if they say, yes, you do make me feel stupid or whatever, or shut me down, don't get prideful.
Don't get defensive.
And if anything, be heartbroken, honestly. Okay? So
it all goes back to compassion.
That's it.
Yeah.
All right. So we thank y'all for being here with us. We apologize again for the gap in between our last podcast and this one. We apologize for horrible lighting right now. It's just gotten dark.
Yeah, it got dark.
We're doing the best we can.
And to be completely honest, I'll have to share.
Yeah, we actually
already recorded this once.
We had to re-record it because our audio failed again. So
if you are a praying person and you pray to the one and only God of the universe, there's only one, y'all. If you do, we would love your prayers. Like, the enemy fights us really, really hard when we're doing this podcast. And we're just like, okay, we just have to fight harder and not give up. So you might have heard people walking by, you might hear an air conditioner, you might hear road noises, but this is us just fighting for this, recognizing that if the enemy is fighting us this hard, we know that God is trying to do something special through, not just through us, but for you, to encourage your marriage. There's
somebody
and to encourage
out there
you to not give up.
That needed to hear this, and Satan did not want you to hear this. So
that's right. It's for you.
It's in your ears now.
And we're willing to fight for you.
That's right. That's right. All right. So as we always say, embrace the adventure.
Yes.
and embrace your spouse.
That's right.
And so until next time, we are Alan and Carol, and we just pray you'll have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Yes.
All
Y'all
right.
take care.
Talk to you later.
All right. Bye-bye.